It's time to dad.
Welcome back to Time to Dad. I'm Josh. I'm here tonight with Nick and Jason. Guys, what is going on?
What up?
So, guys,
What's up, bud?
if y'all are new to us, this is Time to Dad. Every week we get together, discuss some topics, and see where it goes. Make sure you follow us on Facebook. Hopefully soon we'll have an Instagram up. Also, listen to us on your favorite podcast listening app. So with that being said, guys, I think our first topic tonight is gun safety. Kind of controversial, but I think it's important, especially since it's hunting season. Did y'all grow up with guns at all, guys?
So, I mean, my dad had them in the house, but they were always locked up, and he had a little gun cabinet, and they had like the trigger locks on them and stuff. I didn't really get into guns till I was more of a adult age, I guess.
Yeah, that's kind of similar. So I actually grew up around guns a lot. Growing up, of course, Texas was shocker gun. We have guns. My dad was a hunter safety education instructor. So, and him and his dad and him and his friends, they built guns. They hunted together. They did all kinds of stuff. So we essentially had an arsenal like in the house. Everything from little pea shooters to massive 850 Ultra Mags, which is a high powered gun.
Nice.
8 mags, 7 mags. We had all kinds of guns. It was ridiculous. But that's one of the first. I think I was age 7 when my dad started teaching me the gun safety stuff. Like he would do it with a Nerf gun.
Yeah.
And then it kind of graduated from there. And then BB gun, pellet gun. Then finally, age 9, I got my first rifle. It was 22 long rifle.
I forgot. I did have BB guns. Yeah, we did BB
Yeah.
guns. I had a few BB guns, and then we did we had bows for a little while. My dad had a compound bow, and I shot one of the little kids' bows, which was pretty fun. And then I got into paintball after all that.
Yeah, that's Jason. Did you grow up with guns at all, man?
So yes and no. I mean, definitely a very clear recollection of the gun cabinet safe in my parents' closet. So we own them, but it was very rare that he would actually go, in my recollection, on hunting trips or actually use them. But always not in. So later in life, it changed a little bit, but my dad was a correctional officer. So, I mean, he used it for his job, but I feel like for most of my childhood, I either just wasn't aware of it, or it was something that he actually kept at the facility. So, I mean, the handgun that he was using for his job, as I got older, I'd say high school age, I can recall being more aware that there was actually a different safe in a different area for that gun, but I mean, everything was always kept real safe, but it wasn't something that I shared with him or shared an interest in. As I've gotten older, it's something that I've become a lot more aware of. I live in a more rural area, just meeting different kinds of people, gun enthusiasts, what have you. It's something that I have more of an interest in now, and I did the right thing with my wife. Before kids, we went and did the class and got certified to actually get the license. But even to this point, I've got the license. I don't own a firearm.
Oh,
I still just
you have to have the general license just to carry.
In Massachusetts, yeah, you have to have an LTC.
Okay.
Yep. So
what about just to own if you're not carrying? You still have to do all that?
Yeah, you do, but it's not the same. So I would say for the most part you do. There's a different classification. You can get a lower level license, but the LTC, which is what everybody gets, just allows you to actually carry it on your person. But you can't buy a firearm without that in Massachusetts.
Okay.
So that's the real thing.
Yeah,
so you could go to certain gun shows in New Hampshire or what have you. You may acquire it, but you can't actually purchase something without that here.
Yeah, we're so you can open carry here, or you have to get a concealed carry permit, but you don't have to register your firearms. So that's kind of interesting.
You're in Virginia,
Yeah.
right, Nick? Did they overturn that bill that they passed making silencers illegal or something of that sort? Or there's something that it was
I
pretty
don't know.
controversial.
I
got
saw
passed.
that. I've never had an interest in buying one, so I didn't really pay any attention to it. But I think, there's some sort of weirdness loophole in that where you can still get them, I believe. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, the original bill where they just tried to wipe them out completely, I don't think ever made it through unedited.
Yeah. Thanks. I know there's something weird with that. Well, I know. So, like I said, I grew up with guns, and of course, I shot bows too and stuff like that. But down here in Texas, we hunt hogs from like a helicopter with a minigun. If you all know what that is,
that's funny. It's like open season year round on them, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. There is like no season on hogs because they're so destructive, so destructive. But yeah, so down here in Texas, we're actually open carry. You don't need an LTC anymore. They changed that. I think last year it was. But I personally I would conceal carry, but that's just me. But I do always recommend people to go get their LTC, or they changed the name of it, or CHL, or it's changed names here. But I recommend it because a lot of people they go by what they see in the movies. They go by what they see on TV. Oh, they're shooting sideways, or they hold it close to their face. It's like, that's tactical. It's not real. It's realistic, but it's not the right way to learn at first.
Yeah, there's
everyone wants the cool gun.
Yeah,
the big massive.
The only range around us is indoor, and there's a lot of people in there that are, for lack of a better term, just kind of showboating with whatever they rented, and it can be frustrating and scary at times because you've obviously got a range master there that's trying to keep things safe, but they can't catch everything, and you're just like, oh fuck. And one day you'll go in and there's a friggin' giant hole in the glass separating the shooting booths, and you're just like, Jesus Christ, like, I'm glad I wasn't here that day.
Have you seen a video of the two guys that were showboating at the gun range? I think it was here in Texas actually. And they were like posing with the gun and stuff, and the range master came over and literally took the gun, disassembled the gun in front of them. It was like, no, leave. You're done.
I also have you seen the one of the instructor? He's got like, I don't know, like a Smith & Wesson 6-shooter or something, and he's like instructing them on to shoot, and he pulls it back and pulls the hammer and shoots the gun straight up in the air, and the people he's teaching are like, what the fuck just happened?
I saw the one of the cop. I think it was like 15 years ago. He was at a high school and shot himself in the foot by accident because he didn't clear the chamber. He pulled the mag up, but he didn't clear the chamber.
Wow.
And he pulled the hammer. I go, see, if you do this, it won't do anything. And he let the hammer go, and it went off right into his foot. He goes, and that's exactly what you don't do. Like, he didn't.
I think that's part of why I haven't gone to get my concealed carry yet, is because I don't. I bought it primarily just for home security reasons, or whatever, just go out and stress relief at the range. But I think that's part of why is I need to get way more repetition with it and be more comfortable with it before I ever thought of taking it out into public just to have it with me, type of thing.
Yeah, I believe I read an article by the NRA that people who don't go on a regular basis and shoot, like cops. Just the normal everyday person who doesn't shoot or doesn't have requirements to meet to keep their license. When they get into a gunfight, only 1 in 10 rounds hits its target. 1 in 10.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So that it's insanely. So it makes you like, no wonder we have so many people getting accidentally shot. Gunfights.
I can pick up about any rifle and shoot it pretty damn well. But yeah, pistols are a whole different animal. You can't just pick up any old pistol and just like be a sharpshooter with it. It takes practice to learn each different pistol and how they shoot and stuff. So that's where I'm at. Exactly. I just need to get to the range more.
Yeah, so I need I don't have a handgun, but I do have shotguns and rifles because that's what I hunt with, and that's what I grew up with. One's a Mossberg, which Mossbergs, if if you want a good rifle or a good shotgun, just go get a Mossberg, man. I literally saw my dad. He dropped his Mossberg, into the mud, picked it up, slung the mud out, racked it, dropped
It's like the
drop a
AK
duck.
of
I was like,
shotguns.
"Yeah, dude. Actually, I think they work better dirty.
Yeah.
Like I swear to God, they work better
That's
dirty.
funny. That's
It's
like a Glock,
what was
man.
it the yeah, it's like a Glock or what? Man, what's that? I think it's the machine gun, M2, I think it is, or something like that. They all say don't clean it because the military uses it still because it works better
It's like a
dirty.
transmission, man. Once you get so many miles, you don't change the fluid because it's just going to
No, you don't.
disintegrate.
That's true.
You just leave it
That's true.
alone.
That's funny as hell.
So with that, when do y'all think is appropriate time to introduce firearms to your kids? Like, do you think it's based upon age, or do you think it's based upon the maturity of the child?
Well, I think you can break that down even further. So, are you talking about like when do you introduce them to guns that you own, or guns like physically interacting with the firearm, or are you like, because some parents I know won't even let their kid look at a friggin' Nerf gun because they're just so anti-gun and stuff. So I think there's you could break that down into two separate things, kind of.
I think I would go as far as to say like teaching the fundamentals of guns, like how to handle a gun without actually introducing them to a gun.
I think it's a maturity thing.
Yeah.
I think I don't think the age is necessarily a fact. I think the age can be a line that you draw where you're not even going to really give them the opportunity. But I think it's a maturity. If you have a kid who is genuinely curious about it for the right reasons, that's different than having, just saying, okay, so now you're 15 or 16. So I have to show you this. Like if they don't have it, if they're jokers about it, if they don't seem interested in it, if they see it as something that it's not, then that's not the right time. But they could be younger than that and show a genuine interest, and you may want to share that with them, at least the safety portion of it. I think that you judge your own kid at that point.
Yeah, see, I think you're right because I totally agree with you on that. Because I got a buddy of mine who started introducing his kid to guns and how to handle guns at age 7, and now at 8, the kid already has a 22.
Yep.
I tell you right now, my son's about to be 7. He is nowhere mature enough yet to be handling that. Probably around 7 or 8 is when I'll start getting to handle his Nerf guns, like the real guns.
Yeah.
Because that's what my dad did with me. And around 9 is when my dad started getting me to actually handle firearms. So I definitely think it has to deal with the maturity.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, what was
I was gonna say? Yeah, we have firearms, right? So even Emerson has a couple of Nerf guns. So even when he plays with those, we specifically make sure to tell him, that you don't point it at people like anywhere that he could hurt a person. And he doesn't understand why we're telling him that, because obviously it's Nerf. He thinks it's a game, but that's part of what we've been trying to do. So when the time comes that we do think it is safe, he's already got some of that kind of safety ingrained in his head. And he does he knows when we're joking around, then we will obviously shoot the Nerf guns at each other. But for the most part, he won't run around the house just shooting it at you. He'll shoot it at the couch or find, one of his toys to shoot it at or whatever. But I think there's going to be some dads out there too. I think maturity is super important, like you guys said, but I also think it kind of depends on your lifestyle. Like Josh, for you, maybe if you're going out and you're hunting during the hunting seasons and stuff, right? Your kid's more likely to sooner than a kid whose father doesn't hunt or whatever is probably going to need to be introduced sooner, right? Because you're using it a lot more often than somebody like me who owns firearms strictly for like home defense, home safety type situations, where the only time I take it out is if I go to the range to practice and whatnot. So it doesn't come out that often. So I think a couple of dads, it'll be a lifestyle decision for them, and how prevalent is the use of a firearm in your household.
Josh, I'm completely generalizing and making theater out of it, but I'm just picturing like a Beverly Hillbilly scenario where you're just kind of walking around town with the gun, shooting at different things. The way that Nick described it there, I know that's not true, but like that's all of Texas. For someone in my position who lives up here, like I just figure you guys are just kind of walking around with guns, just shooting.
Well, you have shooting ranges in like residential neighborhoods, don't you? Because you're weird ass zoning.
I tell you right
laws.
now.
No, there's nobody around.
So I tell you,
there's nobody around. They're just firing away at different trees and stuff.
Yeah, I'm not lying to you. I have 5 shooting ranges within a mile of my house.
Yeah,
like I'm dead. Yeah, and where I live right now is in the city. But like my family has a farm back in East Texas, and we'll go out there and shoot and do all that stuff. But for the most part, in the Metroplex, you might see some guys that open carry. But those are usually the ones who are just showing off. The ones that you got to worry about are the ones that you don't see the firearm.
Yeah,
because those are the guys who know their weapon and know how to handle it, and those are the ones. Like I'm not an open carry fan because to me that's just showing off, and you're the first one that's going to get shot in any situation that goes down.
Yeah, it drives me nuts.
Because
the people that open carry to me also seem like when I see them out in public. They also seem like the most oblivious person to the world, to anything going around. And I'm like, this person looks so careless about like their presence and who's around them. Anybody could just grab for that holster and take their gun out.
Oh, easily. Dude, there's so many times I see it the way that they're carrying it on their holster. I'm like, dude, I could pull that firearm before he even knows his gun. And most of them are so large that they can't feel that firearm. You know. I see it all the time. It drives me nuts. It drives me bonkers. Like like I've got friends that I know they pack and I know that they carry, and you can't tell that like they do. Yeah. They're the most unsuspecting person. Like probably one of the best ones that I know of is there's a surgeon that I work with or used to work with, little Asian guy, very straightforward, very like flat affect. And for a long time, I didn't know he was a gun guy. He even builds his own guns. I didn't know that. He goes, Josh, why don't you come out here to my truck? I want you to why don't you come look at this? I walk out. He drives an FJ. I notice he's got a turret on top of his FJ. He had a custom turret built for his FJ. He's like, come here.
He's shooting off a turret of his car.
He pulls back this canvas tarp. He's got a 50 cal.
Fucking Rambo at your doctor's office there.
He built it himself, man. He's like, oh yeah, it mounts on top of the turret, and the turret turns. I'm like, Doc, I didn't know you were like this. Man.
Only in Texas.
He's a gunsmith. He's a licensed gunsmith. So like in his spare time, that's what he does. He builds guns and sells them. A doctor builds guns and sells them. It's awesome. So. But anyways, guys, so I think another thing that we can easily spin off of here. So since we're talking about guns, conspiracy theories. So come on, Jason. This is right up your alley, Jason. Come on.
It's just a rough segue, though. I don't know. I feel like we could have eased in. I mean, you kind of raw dogged us right into that.
No, dude. No, you don't ease in. You just stick it in and go. Just go. Just dry. Okay, God. Wait. Are we still talking about the podcast, or where do we go with this? Oh boy.
Yeah. No, I think so my favorite conspiracy, and I did Google it here in terms of the actual name, if people want to look up the real reasoning behind this. And this is, to me, because I was a history major in school. I've gone back and forth on this throughout my whole life because it's just something that's fascinated human beings in America for 50 to 60 years. But the JFK assassination, which, Josh, I know you being from Texas have a very strong opinion on this, but I'm just going to tell you guys exactly what actually happened. I'm going to tell you what happened, and then we're going to move on because it'll be solved. So I'm telling you tonight on this podcast, I'm going to explain to everybody, all of our millions and millions of listeners around the world, what happened with JFK. Put it to bed. You can sleep soundly. You never have to ask the question again. Are you guys prepared for that?
I think I know where this is going.
All right. So very much have to understand what happened there through the eyes of public perception and then also through science and physics. Okay. So my theory, which is backed up by a couple documentaries out there and a book that out there And I have not read the book cover to cover, but I'm told that this is where the theory also exists every time I bring this up. But it's called Mortal Error. Okay, this is the name of the book. So
Taking
if anybody
notes
wants to look that up,
furious.
So here's what happened. Okay, and we're going to break it real simple, because there's basically 3 shots fired there that made that day. So you've got, he comes around the corner. You're in you're in the plaza. He's coming around the corner. You've got one shot that misses. Okay, that's a shot from above, which I do believe was fired by Lee Harvey Oswald from the book depository. You got one shot fired, it misses. So at that point, the vehicle behind the president contains Secret Service members, and they have what is the equivalent of like AKs or rifles, like at the ready. So one shot is fired. The Secret Service member in the car behind the president reaches for his firearm. He grabs it. He begins to scan. He turns the safety off. A shot has been fired. He turns the safety off. The second shot rings out, which wounds Connolly in the vehicle. At that point, there's 2 shots fired. Both vehicles jerk forward. At that moment, that social Secret Service member accidentally, and you can see by the way that the president's head blows the F off, if you watch the video, accidentally from point blank range, he shoots the president in the back of the head, friendly fire.
Yeah, his head. Yeah.
Back
what's that? What was that secret agent's name? Like I think I'm trying
Secret
to think of his name.
Whoops.
No, I mean not secret, but that Secret
Service.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Was it Hill? What's his last name?
I'll find it here.
Because I remember watching a documentary about this.
I haven't. I almost went down that rabbit trail, and then the fucking Fire Stick was having loading issues, and it kept freezing. So I got like 10 minutes in, and I just said, "Fuck this," and I don't remember what I watched.
I'm trying to think of his name.
Special Agent George Warren Hickey Jr. is the who's accused, essentially. Conducting his own investigation, Donahue eventually decided that the bullet that struck Kennedy in the head had in fact been fired by the United States Secret Service Special Agent George Warren Hickey Jr. From an AR-15 rifle carried in the car immediately following the president's vehicle. So he didn't do it on purpose. And the reason why you have all the stuff that surrounds you with this is because they quite simply, and I mean, you had so many people that were in that autopsy room. You've got so many years, so many presidents coming out saying they're going to reveal what actually happened. They're going to release the documents. Every time you sit that president down and you explain to them that at this point, we cannot explain to the American people after all this time that we accidentally shot our own president. We just can't do it. So that's why every single person agrees to basically just let it go. Like that's the story. You can't fix it. You can't change it. They chose to cover it up in a way that put blame where it rightfully should be on the person who was trying to shoot the president. It was still his fault. It was still Lee Harvey Oswald's fault that the president died. But they cannot admit that they bumbled so badly and had a Secret Service agent kill their own president. So they've just covered it up all this time.
It was Clint Hill is who I'm thinking of, because I think he said the same thing in his book, because he wrote a book too and did a show.
That's in here too, yes.
Yeah. So, okay, well, if that's the case, then do you still think the mob was still trying to kill him? Because I know for a fact that there was a secret meeting held.
I think a lot of people wanted to kill him.
Yeah,
I think that when you try to change the world, a lot of people want to stop you. Like you're talking about, especially somebody who, if he was president right now, it would be fire and brimstone controversial because of the types of things that he was trying to do. Yeah. Never mind 62 years. That's what we're talking about. 60 years ago. 60 years ago, we had 60 years ago. Somebody going out there and saying these and talking about revolutionary changes and having the amount of support that made him unstoppable in terms of the American people and the way that they viewed that president and what he thought and how he viewed things. Like, but the vitriol from the other side, from the minority of people who were steadfast and very, very powerful, to say, no, this young kid's not coming in here and changing the world just because he's handsome and smart. Like, that's not happening.
Yeah.
So I do think that many powers and his brother outwardly was going after the mob. Like, they did destroy the mob in many ways because of the litigation and the steps that came from that. The FBI essentially took out what we understood to be the mob and the power that the mob had because of RFK and the power that he had from his office when Kennedy was president. So yeah. And why do you think they shot him 5 years later? Like, yeah. No, it's all part of it. But I do think that there was one shooter. But yeah.
Well, it's because, I mean, JFK was also trying to do away with the military industrial complex as well.
And he was trying to do universal health care.
Yeah.
I mean, he was trying to do everything that you don't do. Everything that you don't do quickly. And he was going to do it. He was going to do it quickly. And he was going to basically, because he had universal support of everyone in the country, and he had power in Congress at that point, their laws would have changed. He would have created a tidal wave, in the opinion of the powers that be, that couldn't really be stopped, especially with a second term. But no, I don't think that there weren't a lot of people that probably wanted him done and out and take, just wanted him to go away, whether that was losing or just being taken care of, sure. But I don't think that they succeeded. I think that fate succeeded a mortal error, exactly what the book's called.
Yeah.
But just the way that the rifle that Lee Harvey Oswald was shooting wouldn't do that. It just wouldn't blow off the whole head like that. And I think anybody who understands guns like yourself, like that's true. Like I don't think that from that distance it wouldn't have made any sense. The first shot that hit Connolly or whatever, why didn't it blow his whole damn shoulder off? I mean, looked like he was shooting like a machine gun, like or a shot. Like I really don't know how to compare it, but no, it's from that distance, that height, everything, the physics of it doesn't make any sense. And the magic bullet theory that goes with it, like all that, it's just their way of saying, hey, we can't. I know you want to figure out what really happened, but you're barking up the wrong tree. You can't tell people what really happened. And then eventually you go far enough down the rabbit hole, you have to let it go. But that's a really hard thing to try to hide.
Yeah. Well, I think either way, because there's so many people out to get Kennedy. I don't know if even if Dallas didn't happen, I don't think he would have lived to see the election, because there's just so many people that are out to get him. I mean, there's so many mobs, and
not for nothing. And I know it's a different time, different place, and they use a lot different methods because of what happened to Kennedy. But Barack Obama was president for 8 years, and he never even had an incident. So I mean,
yeah, you got way different technology though, in a much larger security.
And they
force.
changed everything. And the real thing is whether it's the Secret Service actually physically shooting him, or just the sheer idiocy of how they handled that entire route and everything that happened there.
Yeah. To
have people to have him literally out in the open with no cover over him. So, sheer bravado, sheer hubris, like all of it.
I think the whole goal of that was to add to his MO though, right? I mean, he was already trying to do things that no other president had. So I think that was the goal of that whole event, and the way it came to be was just to further drive that point home.
Yeah, he was so popular that he could drive through Dallas, Texas.
Yeah, exactly.
And nobody would touch him.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't make it.
Whoops. Yeah.
There's also a book out there too that talks about, what if Kennedy didn't die?
Oh boy.
Like how would have Vietnam went? And there's two books. So it's crazy. So there's one book that was like, oh, we would never went into Vietnam, all this other stuff.
No, he had put
But then there's
troops in
another book
Vietnam.
that
Kennedy had put troops in Vietnam.
he put some, but not like he wasn't.
But the
committing.
escalation,
He was just
no, you don't have an escalation without Johnson and Nixon, I suppose.
yeah. Well, and Johnson's a whole different story. If you ever read or heard some of his memos, the things that he said, that's.
You guys
very
seen
controversial.
the Johnson movie with Woody Harrelson? It's phenomenal. Like he does a
I don't
really
think
good.
I have.
It's very comic. It's a much more comical take on the actual history of it, but it is very funny. It's very good. It's a very good portrayal. What the heck was the name of that? one?
Well, I saw the one with Bryan Cranston playing as Johnson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no.
That was on HBO. That was about him and MLK and the civil rights movement.
Mm-hmm. No, it was.
I'm trying to think of the Harrelson one. I don't remember the Harrelson one. I remember, was it Woody Harrelson playing as? Didn't he play as FDR too, or was that someone else? I'm thinking
It
of?
was just called LBJ. It was 2017. It was Woody Harrelson. It was good. It's a good movie. What was your question, Josh?
Oh no, I just think did Woody Harrelson also play FDR or something like that, like a while back, or let's say
I don't know about that. Maybe
I don't remember. But anyways,
he's a chameleon. He could.
He is.
But anyway.
So, but then Johnson's a whole nother, like that whole thing, like him smiling like on the plane and like it's just that's a whole nother conspiracy.
Oh, so we got conspiracy. I want to hear that. I'd like to hear some John. So you're the resident Texan here, Josh. So
so I know there's been also a lot of
your take.
So there's also been a lot of talk as well that Johnson played a hand in his assassination because he knew that he could never outright win in an election to become president, and supposedly he was the one who stopped the plane from taking off. It was like, no, we're not leaving Dallas until I'm sworn in. And supposedly he tried to get them to swear him in while they were still working on him in Trauma 1 at Parkland.
Yeah.
Like they worked the president a long time, and supposedly afterwards,
I'm sure that he was workable. Workable with half of a skull. That was super.
They
workable.
were just working him just to work him. Yeah,
there was no working.
They were incompatible.
They were working on explaining that the president of the United States was dead. Like they just couldn't like that.
Yeah, they exhausted every.
Of course. You're talking about 1963. What are they going to do? Like,
Actually, they did a lot because Parkland. So Parkland was a leading trauma facility in the nation at the time. So, and actually, I watched a documentary about what they did to him. They actually did a lot. They criked him. They put chest tubes in. They intubated him. They did all kinds of stuff. Like they went far beyond even some questionable stuff at the time that is now standard practice. They did a lot. And I was even surprised myself. I was like, well, what could they possibly done to see? No, they did a lot. And that they actually had to rip the seats out of Air Force One to get the casket in. But Johnson was trying to get them to swear him in as president even while they were still working him in the trauma room. It's just, I'm just like, it's hard to deny at that point
Poor
that
Johnson.
he didn't play a part in it.
What I'm hearing is that Texas hates Lyndon Baines Johnson.
We were not a fan. I'm not a fan of him, especially of. So there was some things that he said that I don't want to get racial or anything, but he used the N-word a lot. And when what was it they passed? I think it was the Welfare Act or something like that. He said, I'm going to have these ends voting Democrat for the next 1,000 years. And I was like, wow. Like, I couldn't believe he said. But also, hour at the White House was ridiculous. Like, supposedly he wanted shower jets pointed at his butthole in his junk. And they had to have a certain pressure. He spent over $1 million because they had to install water pumps just for the shower, just so it meet his criteria. Like he was crazy.
Is it possible? Is it possible he had a lower back problem and maybe it wasn't shooting up his butthole? Can we go with that theory? Is that
if you want to go with that theory?
I mean, I like a vertical, like a jet from different angles. I'm the president too. I mean, that sounds fine. Whatever.
But
'Cause, I mean, you're under a lot of stress. If you
Yeah.
and if you wanted to shoot up your poop chute
Okay.
too, I mean, whatever. But
Good.
like, $1 million is a little much. $1
Oh,
million
yeah,
dollars
it's just ridiculous, man.
this
It's
was just on the shower. Do we have? We
Yeah.
got
it was like just on the
on the
shower. I'm like,
$1
what the
million
crap?
shower.
Yeah, I'm like, what the
in
crap? It's 'cause
1965.
that's insane to me. That's just a waste of money. But yeah, that's.
No,
I
I
mean, like I said, I wasn't a fan of him, but that's just me.
Hmm.
But yeah, but what other conspiracy theories we
You
do
got
do
HARP.
there?
Have you heard of HARP?
HARP? No.
It's
You're gonna have to educate me.
it's basically an experimental device where they're, if I'm remembering correctly, they're kind of screwing with the ionosphere out in the atmosphere, and I believe it's the intent of it was to try and block radio waves. But there's a lot of people out there that are saying a lot of these weather phenomena, like all the major hurricanes we've had in the past, probably 5 to 10 years, and all these catastrophic floods that are happening in places where they haven't happened typically historically. They're claiming that this device it's actually screwing with weather patterns and actually creating these events. And I think they tried to attribute it to the fires in Hawaii.
So I'm just looking up. This is the first I've heard of this, but like the most prominent instrument at HARP is the Ionospheric Research Instrument, IRI, a high-powered radio frequency transmitter facility in the high-frequency band. The IRI is used to temporarily excite a limited area of the ionosphere.
Mhm.
Other instruments such as the VHF and UHF radar, a fluxgate magnetometer, a wow, you got me reading big words here.
There's some big ones in there.
An ionospheric sounding device and an induction magnetometer are used to study the physical process that occur in the excited region. So you're saying that this changes the weather patterns in a given area? Is that what?
People are basically saying that this thing can modify weather patterns and create anomalies in areas where they just don't happen.
Mm-hmm.
So like
temporarily,
every time one of those big Cat 5s pulls up to the East Coast, and it rapidly intensifies because it rolled up as like a Cat 2, and then 8 hours later it's a Cat 5, and people are like, "Whoa, it's HARP." I'm kind of a weather nerd, so if you ever go on like any of the weather forums, you see people joking about it all the time, talking about how HARP causes it. But it's kind of a funny rabbit hole if you go down it. Whether you buy it or not, that's one thing. But if people aren't bitching about global warming causing these anomalies, which a whole different topic, but I don't believe they're anomalies. I think they're just more well documented now. I don't think weather is rapidly changing into some fierce monster that it hasn't been before. But yeah, it's an interesting wormhole. If nothing else, you're like, holy shit, I didn't know technology like that existed. But whether or not you believe it changes weather, that's for you to figure out. But a lot of people are blaming stuff like that big flood in Texas. A lot of people were crying on Twitter about how it was HARP and stuff like that. So,
which flood?
Yeah, well, exactly. I don't even.
Yeah, like because. I mean,
that and the big freeze they were claiming too. So,
yeah, that big freeze was brutal. Like 2 years ago, it got okay. I live in the Metroplex, and it got down to -2.
Dude, that shit makes me so glad we have the building codes we do here, because we don't plan for that severe scenario, but we do plan for standards of design that accommodate colder temperatures, so that kind of crap doesn't happen. But I can imagine, being helpless in that situation, and it's not the fault of the people or anything. It's just you don't build things in Texas to withstand that kind of weather. You just don't.
Well, I mean, luckily for us, we're not like in Florida to where they have just a AC unit and a whatever you'll call it, a recirculator.
Yeah.
we actually have heat. We have heat and like air here. Now, is our houses as insulated as they should be for the winter? No, they're more insulated for like the summertime to hold the cold in
Yeah.
and to keep the sun
But
out.
same thing, your heat pump. I mean, your heat
yeah.
pump's not designed for a. So in engineering and mechanical design and stuff like that, you design for. I forget the exact word because I do electrical design. But there's basically for each region of the U.S., you design for a certain standard, like cold winter day when you calculate what size heat pump you need. And so in Texas, you need a heat pump, but you don't need a heat pump that's a New York heat pump that needs to be able to efficiently, warm something at,
right.
a normal 10 degree day or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
well, we just kept our heat on 60 here and then kept the fireplace going and we were just fine.
Yeah.
But, luckily for us, we weren't having the blackouts.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was the blackouts that effed everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, the everyone. But luckily for us, we have one of the older homes, so we're right off the main grid. So it didn't affect us. Like now, people who are living in these newer homes that are way off the grid, they were the ones getting tapped first. And plus, also from what I later found out was that ERCOT was looking at where the most usage was.
Yeah.
And that's the area that they were killing for a short time to preserve the energy. Luckily for us, like most of our houses here are on gas.
Yeah,
not electric.
Dude, we're on gas too, and
so we're lucky.
We had issues with our AC, and I've just been kind of looking like, well, we do need something more efficient. But everybody's going electric, and that's the way to go. And you can get tax credits for getting rid of gas appliances, but I refuse to do it for that very reason.
Yep.
If it gets freezing freaking cold. I mean, even if you have a backup generator, you're not keeping your house safe if it's that friggin' freezing cold with a backup generator.
Yeah. But in my lifetime, that's the coldest it's ever been here. Like seriously.
Yeah.
Like, and then that's insane to me.
Yeah.
So like it was to the point where we couldn't get out of our neighborhood. So
I don't know. I feel like up here the houses are built very different in terms of being able to withstand crazy cold. So it's
you got different insulation code requirements, different everything. So
we also have different like grid requirements for how they're actually managing the system and what it can withstand and how we got linemen. We got like thousands of linemen that do like they come out and can fix that shit on demand when it's crazy cold and windy and
we have that too, but all that
just built for it though.
Here in Virginia, I don't know if you guys have a singular power distributor in your area, but we have Dominion, and we have all that shit where they've got crews and they staff up and they cut all the trees back from the lines and all that shit. But at the end of the day, you pay for that in Virginia. It all trickles down to your bill at some point or another. Like the government basically said, hey, you need to, there's a certain percentage of their energy production that by, I forget the year, it has to be natural. So it either has to be solar energy that they're generating, or it has to be wind energy. And the government basically said, we'll do you even another solid. You need to get it done by this date, but you can pass the buck to your customers. So now our bills just went up to help assist with all this infrastructure. But they're a fucking business. They're not part of the government, but they're still allowed to pass that buck on to the customer. And shit like that drives me fucking nuts. When they're already a monopoly, you can't shop around for power. If you need power, it's coming from Dominion Energy here.
So that's kind of like where I'm at because
that shit drives me nuts.
I'm in a co-op. Yeah, because I'm in a co-op here, and don't get me wrong, our co-op's great. Like they're cheaper than anyone else around. But now that Abbott passed a bill to where the energy distributors don't have to eat the bill for because like the previous year, so when we had the negative 2 year, there was tons of people like their electric bill was $1,000 or more.
It's insane.
And and essentially a bunch of the energy companies waived it because they knew that there was FEMA they had activated the FEMA response, so they knew FEMA would reimburse them if they wrote it off. Well, then Greg Abbott passed this bill, who's our governor, saying you can pass that on to your clients. So now, instead of eating that cost, they distribute it amongst all the clients. So even though I only used $100, $150 worth of energy, I'm having to pay for Joe Blow down the street who ran up $1,000 bill. It's getting distributed to me, so now I'm paying $250.
Yeah,
which is bullshit.
That shit, it's gonna keep happening, man. And it's like, and the infrastructure here is fucking terrible. In my neighborhood, you can go in my backyard and sneeze or flick a booger and knock the power out. And they just don't do anything about it. Because either way, they're profiting from storm recovery money to come out and fix it, or they're passing the buck on to whoever they're supplying power to. It's just ridiculous, man. Drives me freaking nuts. But I refuse. I don't want to put solar on my house either, because that's a can of worms too, right?
That's a whole nother can of worms. So, like, supposedly supposed to save money, save energy, but the truth is, like, those solar panels are actually very bad for, like, the environment to make.
Well, they're fucking terrible for the environment to make. But the other thing is, the people that are buying them are ridiculously uneducated about what they're buying. So these people are going door to door and they're pitching these government incentives, which there are incentives, but these guys are coming and they're covering people's roofs in solar panels. And the homeowner's thinking, great, I got these solar panels. I got this government-backed credit to help me pay for them. And nobody bothered to tell them that, oh, your roof needs to be replaced in 2 years. So now you're going to pay somebody to rip all those panels off and replace your roof and then put them back. And they don't explain this shit to people. And they don't explain to people that, you know, you need to, if you want to use it for backup power, you have to store that power, right? So now you've got battery cabinets. And people are thinking, oh, I can sell all this surplus energy to back to the utility, but the utility caps how much you can sell back, and they pay you a ridiculous fractional amount compared to what they charge for that same energy. And people are just eating it up, man, because it's you know, we're going green, we're saving the planet, and they do not educate themselves. There's a lot of snake oil in that industry, and people got to be careful who they buy that crap from.
Yeah, that's why I haven't put it on my estate, because my co-op doesn't pay for the extra energy you put in. Because I tell you right now, every bit of my roof is in the sun, so I could put solar panels all around this bitch and never pay another electric bill, and actually have the electric company pay me. Yeah. The problem is our co-op doesn't pay for that. Right. They won't pay you for the extra energy. They'll give you as a credit.
Yeah. The savings
to a certain amount.
Yeah, the savings then and the cost analysis you can look at is basically, you know, when's your break even point, right? So when do those panels save you enough on your electric bill that they essentially pay for themselves is the only benefit you're going to get out of that. And it's a long fucking time. People don't seem to get that because you need a shit ton of solar panels to run a whole house. People think they just throw them up on the roof and all of a sudden they've got, you know, free power. They can do whatever they want. And that's just, it's not realistic for most homes.
No, it's not. And the thing is that most insurances now, homeowners insurance won't cover them. Like if they get damaged like a hell, they will not cover them.
And the warranties aren't that great on them. So
no.
I will.
You got another one?
I will hop in here. No, I have some nice solar panels on my roof.
You're that guy.
Come on.
And
you have to replace your
tell you. No. So this is a big reason why I did it. So when I moved into the house, I had, you know, basically I've been here for 3 or 4 years now. And I was told that I probably had to do the roof in the next 10 years. You know, just based on the age of it, not necessarily because it was rotting away, just the age of it. Yeah. It looked fine. So I had the solar guys come in, and I basically tried to beat them at their own game because they guaranteed my roof because I leased I didn't buy that shit. I leased it just like my cars. at least the panels, and they had to guarantee it and insure their own panels for 10 years. So if my roof lasts less than 10 years, they have to replace my roof. So I have that in my back pocket.
Wait. They insured your roof and the solar installation?
Oh yeah,
shit.
for 10 years.
Damn.
Sneaky.
So I mean, I
now, what if your roof
so I
doesn't
don't
fail,
know.
though?
Well, then whatever. I'm still saving. So it basically what happened, what Josh was saying happened, what all of you were saying. They tripled the kilowatt hours on my power, and I just use a lot of power at this house because a couple things. I mean, it could use better insulation, sure, but I mean, my wife just uses a lot of energy in the house. We got a hot tub it's broken at the moment, but that's in the backyard. That's a ton of energy. We have at least at one point we had 2 electric cars. Now we have just the one. I mean, just a lot of power.
Mr. Green over here.
Like, yeah, not so much, but using a lot of electricity, hot water heater, just the whole thing. So, I mean, it was.
Well, you're ahead of the game then, man. If you don't have gas appliances, though.
No, it was $600-700 a month for our electric bill. So I got this at least
size is your
solar
house?
panels. It's not big. It's probably, I want to say, it's maybe 2,400 square feet, something like that. Small.
That's not
ginormous. Small house, not
That's
huge.
a huge electric bill.
It's not at all.
Holy hell!
Yeah, it's massive.
It was wild, man. It was wild, and it was multiple months in a row. So I mean, there was not we're not going to say no. The panels are only $200.
How old is the house? What year was it built? Do you know?
1950, but it was redone.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it's an older house. I mean, they redid it. I don't know.
That's crazy, though. I can't imagine an electric bill that's more than all I pay for gas, electric, and water on like the worst fucking winter day of my life. I don't get anywhere near that much.
Oh.
You could throw on my cable bill too, and I don't pay that much.
No, it was crazy.
No, dude,
it was crazy.
I had a electric bill one summer. I think it was last summer, not this last summer, but the summer before. We had the triple digits for months. I think my electric bill was like $975.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah,
and my house is 2,700
so
square.
Now
feet.
I got the panels. I don't have to worry about.
So how much? What's your bill like now? I mean, how much of your house is it picking up?
Most months it's free, and in the winter and summer, like the heavy months, it might be $100 or $200 or something, like $100. But still,
terrible. Do you know how many kilowatts your system is?
I don't know. You're asking the wrong guy on that. I'd have to look up the actual that part of it.
It's got to be a pretty big system if it's running that much square footage.
There's a lot of panels up there, but it hasn't been as good. They've predicted, I think, a little more sun than we've actually gotten. They've definitely performed.
You got to clean those puppies too, man.
Yeah,
just a little bit of like a season's worth of like snow and dirt and grime and shit can really reduce the efficiency of those things.
Yeah, they're pretty. This is within like 1 or 2 years I did this, so
yeah,
they're pretty new up there.
Okay, so with that, do they tell you how many solar panels that they're going to put on your house, or do you just say cover my whole roof? Like I want every bit of possible.
They do
power.
the math. They did the math. They got drones. They have drones. They brought drones out and they figured out what the angle was going to be. And my neighbor across the street did us a huge favor by cutting down, like on their own dime, just because they wanted to, a couple of really big trees at a really opportune angle. So the front of my house probably wouldn't have gotten wouldn't have had the panels that it has if they hadn't done that. And then like my garage in the back, which makes perfect sense because the paint is totally faded. It's not even paint. It's like a lacquer, kind of like a paint on we have cedar siding on my house. So it's totally faded out on the side of the garage. So most of the panels are on the garage over there. But yeah, they're not really like an eyesore or anything. And $200. I didn't have to fucking buy them. I didn't have to do anything.
$200?
They covered my roof.
What was $200?
Yeah, for the lease.
Oh, the lease?
A lease.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, so once the lease is up, once the lease is up, do you have to buy them outright, or do you just come take them off, or what?
They just stay with the house, basically. That's the only downside.
lease
Is if I
to
sell
own.
the house, then they stay with the house, basically. Because that was really my thought. I don't plan on being in this house for longer than the 10 years or 50, whatever, 20 years, however long they do the lease for. I don't. I feel like it was like 25 years or something.
So
crazy.
you have to pay on it if you leave before the lease is up, or is that something you got to like write into
No.
your contract? When
I
you
write
sell
it. I write it into my home, like as part of the deal,
Uh,
which most people will be okay with because
I mean, $200 is not bad if you were
No.
having $600 damn electric bill. I think you said your worst month was $200 since you had them, so you're paying $400 a month still versus $600.
exactly.
That's
yeah.
not horrible.
Yeah.
And you
It's
didn't
not great,
you didn't
but
have to
it
pay
is
a
what it
penny
is.
out of pocket. There's no like down payment.
No.
That's pretty solid.
No.
Do you have
Not a
batteries,
down.
Now,
or
do you
is
have
it?
battery?
Yeah, are you storing
No.
power? Okay.
No, I can't.
So
That's
the
the
only
thing. It's
downfall
leased, so
is
they could
if
take
you
it
lose
back.
power, you can't.
But I don't have to worry about any of the stuff you guys talked about where I do have to store it and I do have to figure out like, oh, are they screwing me on what they're actually paying me back?
So
Like,
you're probably using most of your energy at night when the panels aren't generating anything.
yeah, probably. I'm using a lot, so that I
Yeah.
just really don't care about whatever is being. If there's anything throughout the course of the year that I'm actually like putting back, like they can have it. Like I'm using enough where it doesn't matter because they designed it themselves, so they figured out exactly what they could give me, and they just put that many panels up. So I don't really care about excess because there isn't any.
Nice.
But other than that, like
Well,
the stuff you're
you got
talking
a
about, is
good deal,
definitely
man. Because
valid.
I've like looked into some of the
Yeah.
companies around here that are almost like door to door selling it, and there's some sketchy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it depends where you live, depends on the way that they're going about it. But Massachusetts, for what it's worth, I mean, we do have MIT here. There's pretty smart people that come up stems, and
Yeah.
I mean that they do that kind of hippy dippy stuff pretty well. But they have their own issues beyond that. I mean, but yeah,
We design them,
it seems to work.
but we don't do them too much. I mean, they're kind of an anomaly in the commercial world, but they are picking up speed. There's a lot of money out there to be had incentive wise for that kind of stuff.
There's a lot of wind in the middle. I mean, when I drove down
Midwest, yeah,
in Midwest, that's the thing out there. Like that, I love that. That blew my mind how long we were driving with nothing but wind farms around us and stuff.
Yeah.
When I would drive across the country, that's kind of cool.
That was my
but
go ahead.
Oh, but hasn't that had like a huge hit on the bird like population and stuff like that?
Yes, Donald.
No. I'm just wondering.
Fake news.
Because it's because it was also
Have I
it's like
mentioned
there's
that I'm
something-
not a fan of birds and have been afraid of birds since I was a young child?
But you could say the same thing. You could say the same thing
I'm
about
hearing
the
you-
solar farms on the ground, right? They're clearing hundreds of acres to put solar panel. I mean, what do you want to do? Do you want to piss off the fucking birds and turtles, or do you want to keep destroying the atmosphere? I mean, somewhere something is gonna be affected by no matter what you do.
Okay. Well, this is me. Like I don't know, man. Like I'm a simple man. Like it was up to me, I'd be living out in the middle of nowhere with a
Shooting
dirty
birds.
diesel truck,
Shooting
shooting birds, and
Living
doing
by
Regina farming.
candlelight.
Like I would be damn
Amish
skippy.
style.
I'm not lying, dude.
Those
Well, not I would say
windmills are
Amish style.
taking my
Amish style. He needs his
birds
car.
that I could be shooting out of the sky. I could be
Yeah.
shooting that bird.
No, but just run off some dirty diesel. I don't know if y'all know about dirty diesel at all. Like,
Yeah.
so you got guys that like these old diesel engines. That's
like
why the old
used
diesel engines
motor
are just
oil, isn't it?
sky- yeah, and that's why these old diesel engines have shot up in price, man. Like they've just
'Cause
skyrocketed.
you can't fucking kill them.
Like, no, they're unkillable.
Dude,
They'll run the dirty.
you can
like
run
the
those
cat engines,
motherfuckers
the
off
Detroit
like
diesels.
homemade distilled shit and mixed with oil and vegetable oil. I mean, you cannot
Yeah,
hurt that fucking motor.
the corn oil.
No.
Corn oil.
So yeah,
Throw it in there.
So there's a guy that I follow on Instagram, and he went and bought a old Deuce and a half truck from the military because it has the Cat engine or the Detroit diesel. I forget which one it is. He replaced the cab with what's called an Oshkosh cab. If y'all know what that is, do you know like the firefighting trucks you see at the airport? They got a funny looking cab.
Yeah.
That's an Oshkosh cab. So he took the old cab off. He put that on. Then he mounted a.
That's his daily driver. That's fucking awesome.
He mounted a fifth wheel RV camper on the back of it. Like took it off the frame and put it on the frame of the truck.
Oh my God.
He put solar panels all across the top, and he runs the truck off of dirty diesel. So he's off the grid completely. Like he doesn't need electricity.
People will
generates enough
give
from
you
the
fucking used
solar
motor
panels on
oil to
top.
make that shit.
It only cost him $14,000,
Wow.
and that's how he lives. And he's a multi-millionaire because he's an engineer. So he's like he has no
Genius.
living expenses. So absolute genius.
All right, fellas. Well, I don't know how we transitioned from conspiracy theories to energy production, but that was interesting as hell.
Manly episode.
Yeah. So,
Manly
we left the
episode.
topic off, but
Diesels and guns.
yeah,
and
we won't share that
we'll
topic.
get
We'll
presidents.
catch up.
I think with maybe next one, after our Christmas episode, maybe start talking about camping, because I don't know about y'all, but that's really big here.
It'll be springtime soon.
So
But
yeah,
hey,
so I'm gonna start getting prepped for it.
yeah.
Good talk.
Thank you guys.
Good talk,
Thank you
boys.
guys. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Hope you enjoyed the topics. Maybe go look up some of those conspiracy theories. Check us out. Is it next episode's our Christmas one, right?
I think the next
so
one
this
is.
one, this one releases this Saturday. So guys, come back out, check out the Christmas episode. Like, subscribe, join the Facebook group. Like Josh said, hopefully we'll have the gram up soon, and we'll do one for the gram. But thank you guys for hanging out with us, and we'll catch you next week. See ya.
Happy
Later, boys.
Hanukkah. Later.